art and flow. Morning mind dump with Trie, let's go.
Good morning, this is Trie from Morning Mind Dump, here with another episode, a place where I pour my coffee and my soul all out onto my mic, and I call it therapy. If you're new here, I am an art life coach, intuitive artist, and a no fluff friend. I will speak my truth, and you may not want to hear it. I used to withhold my words, but no longer do I do that, because if you're my friend, you'll accept me who I am, and that's it. When I do say something, if it touches you the wrong way, it's not because I'm like trying to be hurtful. Yeah, I'm not afraid anymore to be messy and speak my truth. So today's topic is very tender. I'm going to say somebody might get triggered, and it's okay, because I know that in this circumstance, I did the best that I could at the time. So let's get into it. So I titled this, When You Give Your All and Still Feels Like None. I know we've all been in those circumstances, and this one is really personal, but I know that you can relate. If you ever felt unseen, unappreciated, or just flat out misunderstood while you're trying to hold it all together. So let's go ahead and take a deep breath and dump my mind, shall we? Alright, let me take you back. So there was a time after my marriage ended, during COVID. The world was weird, and grief was everywhere, and in every corner of my soul, too. A new friend offered for me to stay at their place. I really did think that it was just temporary. I was hoping it was just like be a couple, or just for the winter, and then by the spring or summer, my bus was going to be working, and then I could get the hell out of there, right? That was the plan. But it's a weird coincidence, not a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidence anymore. So after my divorce, I stayed at beautiful, like my dream home. I stayed in my dream home for a year, and then I had to leave, and I had like 4 months to prepare for the exchange, which I am grateful. I mean, literally, they didn't have to give me that long. But I had 4 months. I got most of my bus that I had in working order to live in, but it wasn't quite finished. So, and it was winter time, so I can't really do much more than what I did in the 4 months, which I had help. So they're like, this new friend's like, come stay with me. I have a big house, extra room. Feel free to stay there. Okay, I did. I was having some health issues. I was like, really thought I was dying. I tested negative for COVID, but I feel like I did have it because it was like all upper respiratory and stuff like that. But I was there for maybe a month, and then I got a call from my mom, and she said that she wasn't feeling well, and that, you know, she really wanted me to come see her. So I got to her house, and she had already taken an ambulance to the hospital. And for COVID, like, they wouldn't let me in the hospital. It was like a lot of, oh my God, what's going on? All this stress and chaos. Anyway, I knew my mom was sick, but I didn't realize, like, to the extent. So she did have stage 4 cancer, and it had gone to her hip, and her hip was deteriorating. Liver, her kidneys were failing. I'm at my friend's house. You know, she welcomed me in, gave me a safe space. And so I was only like 20 minutes from my mom at that point, which was perfect, actually. And the person that I stayed with at her house, I felt like we had a soul sister connection. Like, I just felt really comfortable. She welcomed me into her home and her family, and it was exactly what I needed, you know? I wasn't working still, but I wasn't getting unemployment either anymore. But luckily I had saved some money. But I was still grieving the loss of my partnership, my routine, you know, my direction in life. Like, I know it had been a year, but I still, you know, I was married for 17 years. You're not going to just be healed in a year. And so then when my mom got sick, I took care of her for 6 months. And I was like back and forth from my friend's house to my mom's house, and cleaning my mom's house, and it smelled like smoke. And I couldn't stay there. And so I like had to clean the walls, and I literally stripped everything down, took everything out of the house. I did a lot of work, and I did it all by myself. And that's not to say that I want any sympathy. You know, I did it because I needed to do it if I was going to stay in the house with her, which I had to. Somebody had to be with her 24/7. So I took care of my mom for 6 months while she was dying of cancer, 24/7. It was exhausting. And especially because we did not have the best of relationship. But I did it because somebody had to. And I did have home care knowledge, so I was the best person for the job. And I do have empathy for people, and I like when I took care of her, a lot of it I had to separate myself that she was my mom, and I was just like, okay, this person needs me and I'm gonna be there for them. That's how I was able to get through some of the stuff, but the verbal conversations that we had were not fun, but sometimes they were, because it was like shit we needed to talk about for a long time, and we were able to. I was grateful that I was able to talk about that. Oh, I'm getting deeper than I thought I was gonna. Yeah, so my mom passed away after 6 months. I do have an older brother, but at the time we kind of talked, and then after she passed away, we hadn't talked for like 3 years, and then we finally talked again. We don't really talk on a daily basis or anything like that, but I don't feel like there's any tension between us. Yeah, after my mom passed, I did feel like an orphan. I don't know who my dad is, and the rest of my family I don't really talk to, so I didn't have a plan. I did try to show up, even with all the grief that I was going through and the health issues that I was going through. 6 months of me being at my friend's house and my mom's house. And I took care of my mom's dog too. And for quite a while until I had to give her up. My friend had a couple dogs, and I took care of them like they were my own. Anytime that she would want to go away, I would take care of the dogs if I wasn't going away where she was going. But one instance where I had a dog sitting job 2 hours away, actually, and I had to take care of 3 kids too. It was just assumed that I was going to take care of her dogs too. And I said, well, I'm going to be 2 hours away, but yeah, you know, I can take care of the dogs too. So 2 hours every day for a week while my friends were at a festival. I came back to the house and I did my job, taking care of the kids and the dogs over 2 hours away, and then I would come back, take care of the dogs, and then go back and like hug them and love them and, you know, spend time with them. Yeah, and things got weird after that, like because of the expectation that I was already going to take care of the dogs, right? But anyways, I mean, I still did it, right? Even though it was inconvenient, I still freaking did it. So anyway, no, I didn't give this person money because I didn't really have a lot of money, but I did, you know, clean up dishes, and like I said, took care of the dogs, brought them out every day for walks and play and pee and poop breaks. I bought my own food, so it's not like they were taking care of me that way. My own shampoo and all that shit, you know. We drank the same kind of coffee, so when it was out, I bought more. I gave her mom rides to physical therapy a couple times a week for like, and that lasted a few months. Never asked for money, you know. I did it because I knew I was staying at her place. I felt was a good exchange, you know. But anyway, so after the dog situation, there was like tension and everything shifted, and you know when you know that there's something off, you just like sense it in the room. And so it took a lot for me to go to her and say, are we okay? You know, what's going on? But she was like, you know, doing something, doing paperwork, doing this, doing that, and not even looking at me while I was talking. And this was like a serious conversation, right? Like, obviously, I mean, and I know that I avoid conflict. And I mean, I kind of knew at the time. I definitely know that I do that now. Or I try not to do that now. But I am aware that I also was part of that tension, right? Like, it wasn't all her fault. It was my fault too for not, like, but anyway, but somebody has to speak up. So I did, right? And I said, "Are we okay?" And she didn't even look at me. And she said, "You're just not contributing to the house." And I was like confused because when I went there, I explained, what do you have expectations of? What are your expectations? What do you want me to do? I think she did mention something about like cleaning the house, and I wasn't really into like cleaning a big house at the time because I was sick a lot. But I did what I could. Like I did mop the floor. Like I said, did dishes and went grocery shopping. But that was like a sucker punch to my heart because I'm like, I'm giving what I can. I don't know what else I could possibly give. Again, I was grieving, not that it's like an excuse, but I think a lot of times when we're in a situation and people just see their side of the story, right? And they think that, or they hear from other people saying, that person's still in your house, you still have her living with you, or like, who knows what outside noise was going on. It could have been her husband, it could have been other friends, whatever. It doesn't even matter at this point. It's been a couple years. And that's probably why I'm talking about it now, because we really didn't get closure. But I've learned that closure doesn't need to happen. But I can talk about it with a perspective, like, I've never said anything bad about this person after the, whatever. I don't know what I said at that moment. I mean, I just really didn't understand. We had never had a conversation about the expectations. I thought I was helping, but apparently it wasn't enough. And that happens from her perspective. Like, it wasn't enough. People often don't recognize labor or emotional support, or a quiet presence, or small acts of service as contributing, especially if they're not telling you to do that, right? Like, because what I do is, a few times that I've been at people's homes, when I had to because I had nowhere to live, and I had no money, and I'm starting over in my life, I would just pay attention what needs to be done, how they are working, how they're living, and how can I make it better, right? That was what I thought I was doing. I was observing, and so I would, like, a couple times I made dinner so that, like, they didn't have to because they were working and I wasn't. And so I would make dinner a few times to alleviate some of that pressure, right? But also I knew that her husband liked to cook, I think, and I didn't want to take that away from him either. Because, like, that's some people, if I don't know. When I came home from work, I enjoyed making dinner because that was my way of, like, releasing and getting creative and stuff like that. Anyway, again, this is my perspective, my story, and I'm sure her and her husband's story is completely different than mine. And that's okay. Again, I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not making this person seem like a bad person or anything like that. It was what it was, and I learned some lessons. And like I said, I'm completely grateful for that time, because if she hadn't stepped up, I don't know where I would have stayed, where I lived. Like, I feel like I would have, something else would have happened. Everything happens for a reason. And like I said, I needed to be at her house. The universe put me at her house. God put me at her house so that I would be a half an hour to my mom and when my mom needed me. So I don't regret any of that. But so moving forward, her silence, I think I did mention, like, why was she being passive aggressive? And I'm sure that didn't sit well with her, but that's just what I saw. It's like when you can't even look at somebody while they're talking. I felt small and unimportant. I went into flight mode. Luckily, I had the bus that I was converting and cleaning out. I moved in there. Like, I was like, okay, I'm not going to be in the house. I'll just go in there when I have to shower, use the house as minimal as possible, and try to figure out my next steps. But again, I think it was wintertime again. Yeah, it was wintertime. So I decided, I had a couple $100. I decided to go cross country and do the last Twiddle Tour, which is a band that I followed 8 weeks cross country, and I don't regret it. I don't regret it because it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It helped me get over some fears. It helped me on my path of discovering myself, and like now I literally didn't have to take care of anyone else. You know, I didn't have my mom to take care of. I didn't have a husband to take care of. I don't have children. I literally only really needed to take care of myself, right? And that was the start of my healing journey. And then when I came back, like I said, I went into my bus and just like trying to figure it out. Anyway, so my bus was in her driveway, and I even stayed in there when it was cold. I did have a heater, but I tried not to use it. I mean, I didn't really want to, not that it took up a lot of electricity. I really don't believe it did. But I mostly just used like a heating pad that I hooked up to the house, electricity to the house. Know that I was not paying for that. But again, I felt like at the time that I was doing other things to contribute that I didn't think it was a big deal. Nobody talked about it. I was grateful to have my little heating pad to keep myself warm. And then one day, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, cold morning, and I noticed that the electricity from the bus was unplugged. No conversation, you know, no explanation. Like, if you're gonna actually stay here longer, you know, maybe get a job so you can help pay for electricity. There was none of that conversation. It was just they unplugged it. And that was my cue to leave. Honestly, I could take a hint. Even if you don't physically tell me it, obviously, passively, aggressively, I accepted that, you know. I didn't give them a hard time. I didn't ask them why they unplugged on me. I knew why. Like, I overstayed my welcome, obviously. I understand that. So I scrambled around, getting all my shit together. I was lucky enough to find a friend that I could stay there. And again, I had no idea how long I was going to be there either. Again, I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not bashing this person because she gave me a place to live during the winter when I needed it, you know. And like I said, we both played our parts in the fact that we weren't communicating, but it hurt. And now we're you know, not friends. We don't talk. I've seen her a couple times. I still hug her, you know. I appreciate her kindness when I needed it again. And I've never had anything bad to say about her after. So, after my rambling, let's just reflect on a little bit of what I said. Is if you're the type of person who gives without keeping score, because I didn't, you know, maybe I should have had a checklist of things and said, when she said I wasn't contributing, and I could have said, oh, well, I did this and this and this and this. I actually started to, and I stopped myself. Because it was like, literally, if I need to start listing things off, you're probably not going to understand anyway. You're not going to see my perspective. And again, I totally understand their perspective. They, you know, I overstayed my welcome, and again, I didn't expect to be there that long, but like what happened to my mom, that just kind of like extended it. And honestly, like I said, I wasn't even there all the time that I had my stuff there. But yeah, if you're a person that gives without keeping score, I just want to say that I see you and I understand you and I am you. And let's ask ourselves, like, am I communicating my boundaries and needs? Like, I didn't communicate my boundaries and needs, and she didn't either. You know, maybe I should have asked what the needs were before I just assumed what needed to be done. And then also, like, am I giving too much that I forget to check in with myself, too, right? Because I feel like, yeah, that was a bum deal in a way, you know, because I lost what I thought was becoming my family. Because I didn't like, when I got a divorce, like, his family was my family. I didn't have my own family, you know. So then, when this person came along and she opened her arms and her home to me, like, I felt like included, and then I felt abandoned again by another person, right? this is what I've been working on the past however many years of like dealing with abandonment. So yeah, we can look at the flip side of things. If you're someone who has somebody staying with you and receiving help, check yourself. You know, are you overlooking the little things that they do to keep your world running smoothly? Even if you do have a friend staying with you, maybe have a sit-down written contract and say, this is what I expect of you, you know? Then there's no hard feelings and, you know, less of hurt feelings and miscommunication and loss of relationships that it was unnecessary, right? Because the little things that people do for you are actually really big, I think. So it's important, I think I want to remind people, you know, don't forget that. Don't forget when somebody's already down and they don't have much to give you, but they give you what they can. I feel like you should be grateful for what they can give you, mentally, physically. I was not, I realized how much that I have changed since then and my perspective. And I always looked at different perspectives anyways. I was always like that. I always tried to put myself in the other person's shoe. And for that reason, I didn't question why, you know, things happened the way they did, because I probably would be annoyed too that somebody was still living with me and, you know, I wasn't really getting anything in return. So today's poll: have you ever felt like you were giving your all and it wasn't enough for someone? I'm going to put it on my Instagram at treetopia.com, poll on Spotify, and I'll do a YouTube post with the poll question. Because I want to know what part of this hit you. Do you resonate with it? Has this happened to you? Do you know somebody this has happened to? Are you the person that has this expectations of people who you're helping with? Like, my whole deal is like, you're helping somebody, it shouldn't be transactional. But also, me as a person, I don't want to just take. I always give. I try to give in return. So, the fact that it was all a misunderstanding is confusing to me. Why or how it happened, whatever. Again, lessons learned, right? I chalk it up as an experience. They go their way, I live my life. Everybody, you know, is hopefully just doing their own thing. And so before we wrap up, if you're someone out there that feels like you're constantly overlooked, I want to remind you that you are not too much and you're not invisible. Your worth is not measured by somebody else's ability to see your contribution. Like, sometimes we gotta see ourselves even when the cord gets unplugged. Yeah. So if this mind dumping episode resonated with you today, please share, like, subscribe, share with somebody who's carrying too much without being seen. I will catch you next episode. Until then, hug yourself every day, because I don't get to hug people like I used to, so I have to hug myself. It's not sad. It's not sad. Do it, and you'll be thanking me, because it makes a difference. And be kind. Be kind to yourself, because we're all, like, yes, life is hard. We're all going through our own shit. And, like I said, I don't blame this person or anything, you know? I don't ever talk ill will about this person. I know for a fact that's not the same on her end. I've heard stories, but anyway, it don't matter. It's like, again, her truth is her truth. My truth is my truth. I'm saying I did the best that I could. So yeah, much love and hugs. Till next time. Bye.